Bobby from Ontario, Canada. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How are you, man?
Yeah. I'm doing great, man. It's been, we've been trying to get this going now for a few months, and it was great seeing you jump into the chats. You were always a gentleman. Then ever since then, we started talking. No, you're always reaching out, checking in. You're a real one, man, and I really do appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate your show. You got excellent people. I love all your friends, and it's like a family. That's what I love about it too, right?
So I guess, man, what I would like to do, my man, is let's take it back to all the way back from the beginning, man, where you're from.
Okay.
And then you could say, then as you're just telling like your story, we'll just I'll chime in here
absolutely.
and there.
Yeah, we'll just have a conversation, and then when you want to ask a question or anything, right? So I'll go on. I was born. Can I start now? Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in east end part of Toronto, called Flemington Park, and that's where I was born. My parents were together. They split up when I was very young. My father left for another woman, and my mother took on me and my two sisters. And then she looked us in the eye one day, said she was going for milk at Easter and didn't come back. So we ended up, right?
Yeah.
Then Zaid came to the door, and I beat one of them with my hockey stick. You know what I mean? My sister was still in diapers, so I escaped. But eventually, after a few days, I got caught. It turned out my aunt took my sister, that with me too. We ended up in London, Ontario. We found her father after a couple of weeks. Him and his new bride and her 4 kids. Wasn't a good fit. You know what I mean?
How old were you at this time, Bobby?
I was about I was in grade 7 when my mother left. But in grade 3 or 4, that's when my father split. Right.
Okay.
So yeah, that was hard. Like, we didn't even know that they were arguing or anything. Like, they kept that away from us, But anyways, yeah, living with my mother, she went through a lot of stuff. She got hooked on antidepressant pills, 7 suicide attempts. Never knew what we were coming home to, but our place was like the party house. Everybody used to go, my mom started going out dating and getting used by, creeps, stuff like that. And,
so you were exposed to that at a very young age.
Yeah. And it was hard because like I said, we didn't know what we were walking in, coming home from school, and then when she did leave, we didn't know what to do. So my sister would go to school and I stay home with our baby sister and I look after her, and then we switched so they wouldn't get too suspicious. But how long can you get away with that, right? And then neighbors started catching on, and then somebody dropped a dime, said, hey, these kids are alone, which rightly so, you know what I mean, right? And Children's Aid came one day when it was my turn watching my baby sister, and they weren't taking her because back then, so this is like 78, I guess, something like that. Hold on, 76. Yeah, about 77, 78 this was. And back then, the Children's Aid, they used to come in, and I remember they used to come in and see if any men were living in with my mom, so they'd cut her off her fucking check, right? Right? So, and we also heard that they separate, if you have sisters, they separate you, right? And that was the most fear that I had. And so when they came to the door, like, they didn't even knock. They knocked, I didn't answer, and then all of a sudden they had a key with them. I guess the management of the complex, where we were living, opened the door, and there they were. So I just, you know what I mean? Right? Yeah. So I whacked one of the Children's Aid workers. I grabbed my sister, ran out the back. They couldn't catch me. So people were putting me up, but I was putting heat on them, on my friends' parents. You know what I mean? Like, there was cops looking for, just so I had to give it up, right? When my sister, after a few days, my sister got a hold of one of my aunts, and she said she'd come and get us, and that's what happened. my Aunt Vicky came and got us, and I didn't last long there until they got a hold of my father finally, after a few weeks, and then he came and picked us up, and then like that, we're living in London, Ontario, with the broad my dad was cheating on with my mom and her 4 kids. While we're living on welfare, and then they got a swimming pool and big house, cycles, you know what I mean? It was kind of a
big, complete 180 right there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a big life changing for me. Yeah.
But you would say, like, what type of kid though were you though? Pretty much, get in trouble, get grown up, all that type.
Well, I was a good hockey player. Like our whole neighborhood, we're all good athletes. Like a lot of pros came out of our neighborhood, especially in women's hockey. Angela James, she was first Team Canada captain on the women's Olympic team, right? But I played hockey. That was my main sport, but I played all sports. And boxing, like we had a Japanese center, we had a community center. And so we can train boxing at the community center. If you wanted to do martial arts, you go to the Japanese center. So everybody was into all that. Like, so you got 200 kids running around, you know what I mean? Right. And then we had our villains, right? We had our villains. So me and my friend Dean, this is what my book's going to be about. It's dedicated to him because before his murder, like me and him were inseparable. And I can't tell my story without him because he was there most of the time and a lot of stuff, right? So, but anyways, Dean and I, we were always attracted. We were the kids that sat at the back of the class and created trouble. We teachers we didn't like, we used to drop because we knew the older kids, we're like 11, 12, and we're hanging with kids that are, 16, 17, right? Because number one, we knew how to do this. And number two, we had, big kahunas, right? Right. So anyway, this one teacher, he was a racist. You got to think we're back in hippies. Like our teachers used to wear the beads and the peace signs and all that stuff. And and this one, our science teacher, he was very racist. And my older sister, Paula, used to tell me because she's 3 years older than me. So she said, when I hit junior high school, she gave me the skinny on the junior high school teachers and him, right? So he sending me out was racist with me once. So me and Dean put 2 purple microdots in his thermostat. So check this out, man. So anyways, so he was like our second class. So this around the third class or something, and that's when the school alarms are going off, and he was up on the roof, thought he was back in the nom. You know what I mean? Right? And everybody knew who was behind it, but nobody was saying because he deserved it. Nobody liked this guy, right? Yeah. And I remember our phys ed teacher came up to us and he goes, "You got the right guy." Right? Yeah, so Dean and I, we oh man, we did all kinds of stuff.
You guys are like inseparable, you two, right? Yeah, I have a friend like that. I'd say with me, Dave Flannery, R.I.P. too. It's like I was closer to him than my own brother, and he passed away in 2004. So
yeah, exactly.
I know what it's like, man, to lose one real close like that. So my condolences.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, me and him were tighter than brothers, but I remember another time in the school, we got a detention from our art teacher or whatever, and he made a big stink about us. So we put a banana in his tailpipe, and then when he was after school, he's starting his car, he's, and then we walked by his rear view window, So we got reported for that, and then the principal came down hard on us. He roughed us up a bit. So Dean phoned his dad because we got suspended, and his dad came down to the school and smacked him around a little bit. And then the next day, my dad came down and did the same thing. Right? So So anyways, they separate us because junior high school, like from our public schools from kindergarten to grade 6, and then from 7, 8, 9 is junior high school, and then 10, 11, 12, 13 is high school, right? So, so after that, they try to, in grade 7, they had 3 categories, 71, 72, 73. Dean and I were both in 72. So they put me down to 71 because I had lower grades than him. They put him up to 73. So when we're switching classes, we couldn't, intertwine because we weren't allowed to associate with each other. But we found a way, that didn't stop us, right? So anyways, how we got caught, we got caught kissing in the girls' change room with our girlfriends. No big punishment at home, like Dean's dad's like, oh my boy, yeah, because my Dean's parents are from Croatia, so he's all about the all about the girls and all that, right, for us, and my mom, what's she gonna do? Right?
Is Dean the one you sent me the picture of, though, that you were saying to the ladies' man? Okay, yeah.
We used to call him Magnet. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is right there. I have the picture showing right there.
Yeah, show it up if you want, man. Yeah. Right. He had a lot of nicknames, right? One of that, like, really, he walked in the room and broads everywhere. So he was a good looking guy.
You guys were jacked. You guys were jacked back in those days, huh?
Oh yeah. So during the grade 7, that's when we really shined. My sister was going up with the football star of the school over in the high school, and he wasn't doing really well. So me and him, Dean, ganged up on him and beat the shit out of him. So when he was supposed to be a tough guy, and back then we wore Kodiak boots, the work boots, right? Steel toe, right? Like, so we give it to him pretty good, right? So our status rose up from there. So now we started getting invited to all my sister's parties where she goes on the weekend, right? And the funny thing about that is that Dean and I are partying with all her friends, but my sister had to be home 2 hours earlier from me. Her curfew was at 10 o'clock. And, I come home whenever, right? I used to I play hockey, right? Because I had a lot of night games. So that used to piss her off a lot, right? So there we go with the broads again, right? We started going. Dean actually started dating my sister. They were in love with each other. He was just loved my sister. Be the only guy I'd let even out of my friends that, thumbs up for that, right?
I was going to ask you, like, how did you feel about, because usually
I loved him.
Since you loved him, though, and trusted him, though, it was probably because a lot of people are very protective, like, hey, stay away from my sister. But probably knew the guy's heart. You knew he was, he's your best friend.
It's one thing that, you can run around because that's what we do when you're young. Yeah. But he generally loved my sister. So he wasn't going to do that. And I knew that, so. Yeah. Right. So, they went on for a while until we.
Which not to cut you off, but is kind of a smarter approach, because it's weird that some people are like, they're all overprotective with people that they know. But then, isn't that kind of better than someone that you don't know at all? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I'll tell you stories about the guys we didn't know what happened to them, right? Like my sister, like, because she wasn't in London long, and she ended up going back to Toronto, and I was stuck there in London, and I wasn't happy. I rarely went to school. I started hanging around with the older kids there, right? Because the big thing there was, he's from Toronto. Everybody was infatuated. I come from the big city, so I got in with all the cliques, like the in crowd, if you will, back then, right? And so I never went to school. I never used to come home. My father used to, try to come down on me in one ear, out the other, right? And especially his girlfriend or whatever she was, whore, try to tell me what to do, and then I give her a little bit of lip, right? So I'll tell you, one time we're at a party and we were dropping acid or something, and Buddy asked me to drive. I never drove in a car in my life. It was a big LTD. Yeah. Right. So anyway, we were leaving the party. We were both smashed. So he's teaching me how to drive, and it's wintertime, and the cop was behind us. So he got panicked, started getting paranoid. So we told him to speed it up. So okay, so he goes, turn left here. So I turned left, but I was kind of too far. So I ended up on the snowbank, and then I came across the road again. Then I went to slam on the brake, and instead I hit the gas pedal, boom, right into the front of the house. Oh yeah. And the thing was, we're all jacked up on acid.
Yeah, you're tripping.
Yeah, and the cops are banging on there like when they showed up, and we're laughing our asses off at them, right? Right. So anyways, he after everything calmed down, he told us when we hit the house, we hit the gas line. So he said if anybody was cooking on the stove, boom, right? You think that's funny? And we're trying to go, yeah,
No, well, yeah, well, when you're doing that, for anyone out there though that never did that before, like it's almost impossible not to,
Yeah, right. So
Did you
at
just say
that age,
too, like that you never drove before, and the first time you ever drove was on acid?
yeah, like a big car, like we. Well, back in Toronto, we learned how to hotwire cars, like Mustangs and stuff like this. But I never drove in a big boat like that LTD, right?
Yeah.
And plus, I never ever drove like impaired on anything. I never used to do, like smoked a little weed here and there, but right. So, but anyways, yeah. So we're at the police station, and my father come down, and he because at that when you're a juvenile, your parents have to come and get you and all that, right? So he was pissed. So he came down with all these, you're grounded for this, you can't do that, right? And I defied it all the time, and then his wife, girlfriend, whatever, she was on me, and things just didn't work out. So a lot of the time I stopped coming home and started doing things with the bigger guys there, right? But before I hit what was it? In Toronto, like us kids, we had mob guys, all the older guys getting in and out of the pen, and they used to like Dean and I because we were good with that. And then they used to teach us the crowd how to crack safes, how to hotwire cars, how to to do things like that. So that's where we started.
Time now we're at the situation where you are. Did you say you're going in and out of the pen?
No, not at that age. I was in trouble.
My mistake. I thought I heard you say we were going in and out of the pen. All right.
Yeah. No, like because I went back and forth from London to Toronto a lot, right?
Okay.
Like if I ran away from home, I went to Toronto, and then I stayed with Dean, but then it'd only be for a weekend because he had to go to school, and then I have to come back and stuff like that, right? So
yeah.
I only stayed in London until I was probably about 14, and then I came back to Toronto, and then I was a street kid, and so I got caught doing a few things, and I got put into these group homes. One was called Under 21, and then these group homes, which I'll tell you, they were all a bunch of perverts. You know what I mean? Right? Like straight up, bro. So I wasn't even. I think it was the third night I was in there, and then the guy because I hear him the story, so I was ready for him if he comes in, right? So I had a little stick like that. So he came in, and I just went at him, and then boom, winner. Without having my shoes on, though, I climbed up the window and I took off. So now the cops are looking for me for assault, all this stuff. So I'm on the run. So I'm hiding here and there. My friends are sneaking me into their places, and I finally got caught, right? And then they put me in a 311 jail. It's for minors. So that was my first time doing any time. It was in 311 juvenile delinquent jail, right?
Yeah.
And then you meet all the other nice.
I was just gonna say, I'm sure you met a lot of
Yeah, right. Well, all the kids there are all angry, pissed off, abandoned. Like, you know what I mean, right? Because I thought my story was bad. You should, a lot of the kids, and especially the girls. Like before I did that move, like next door to the big house we're living in the foster home was all the girls, and we used to communicate through the bathroom windows because on top of the house the windows were like that. So, and they used to tell us, and I actually came back and rescued one of them one of those girls that were in the house, Dean and I, right? Her name was Lisa Hewing. She ended up being in Playboy and all that stuff. She grew up, some creep got a hold of her at 14, 15 and totally exploited her. You know what I mean? Right today now, she's just a mess, but
yeah.
They prey on the kid.
That trauma, yeah.
Yeah. I seen a lot of stuff in a lot of stories with these so-called foster care parents, and it was like, you know, it's just disgusting. You know what I mean? And nobody checks on you like they say they do. But, you know,
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So anyways, let me think. So all right. So I got pinched. I was at a party, and then this guy, older brother of a friend of mine, we go to the store to grab some more pop. He ends up robbing the store. That was my first robbery pinch. Like I had nothing to do with it. So anyway, I'm in the police station, and my father comes and he told me that I'll get you out of jail as long as, if I do, you have to respect my wife. And I said, leave me in here. You know what I mean?
To the end.
You know, I did, man. Fuck you, man. Respect that. You know what I mean? Like, what does he expect? You know, that's you did that on mom. You know what I mean? Respect. You know what I'm saying, right? But, so that was the beginning of my career. Let's just say, right? So.
Yeah, going down that path, and like, you know, where you're from too. I mean, there's a lot of I mean, it's still, I mean, I don't like to talk about current stuff, but I always tell people about Canada, like, you guys don't have like RICO out there, but there's still mob activities going on there. But even though there's mob activities around here, but I'm saying though, it's still like the old days out there.
Yeah, it is. And I'll tell you why, because our prisons ain't corporations. They're not owned by corporations. You know what I mean? So they build out these new prisons in America, and they got to fill them up. So look at Bill Clinton, the 3-strike rule. You know what I mean? After they plan all the drugs in all the black and brown neighborhoods. You know what I mean? Like, hello, right?
Yeah.
So it's a business. It's not really for crime and punishment. It's a business, right? Yeah. And like the sentences that you get for, like, say, a guy gets caught with an ounce of grass, say, and he's getting 15 years for, like, you know what I mean? That's just insane to me, you know, right? Yeah, like, to me, that
15 years for an ounce of marijuana.
Yeah. You know, a young guy, you know, 18 years old, like, you know what I mean? You ruin his life.
You ruin his whole entire life, his whole record. Even when he gets out, he has that on his record, and that's what they do. And then, you know, that's why they have the revolving door. Like you said, it's a business.
Yeah.
You're basically set up for failure, it seems.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no rehabilitation. Like when you go to a prison here, man, they got classes. You can learn how to be, you know, be a auto mechanic. You know what I mean? They have all trades, you know, whatever they're offering. Like, there's none of this sitting in there all crammed in, like, you know, sardines and you know what I mean? Passing the time. It's not like that here, right? So our system, because of it's not a corporation, it's paid by the people, right? So it's in their best interest to get us in and get us out, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's their best interest to keep them all in and keep adding them in, right?
Yeah.
So many kickbacks. It's so corrupt, man. Like, you know. Like, that's a difference. Like you can have RICO, gangsterism, and all that. It's all the same. Like, murder is 25 to life here, right? 25 years, still a long time. What's the difference, 25 or 99? Like, still at 25 years. And then you get street charged. You're not going to, in American prison, you're not going to do 25 years without some asshole, without having to defend yourself, right? You know, right? Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, in 25 years, Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, that's still a long time, right? So it's that's the difference. American prisons are corporation owned, and they got to keep them filled. In Canada, they actually do try to give you the skills to get out. You know what I mean?
Okay, so American prisons, like you're saying, corporate filled, but now they really do try to rehabilitate.
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Well, they did back then. Now it's the same thing. Now you don't have enough money for this. Like when I was there, man, they had book clubs. I was reading books that would be unbelievable, encyclopedias, very knowledgeable reading stuff, right? So, and you would have volunteers come in from a university, and they, like a teacher, like a professor, would come in and do classes with you. So I'd be having time with a professor, learning, you know what I mean? Like, where do you hear that in American prison?
Yeah.
What I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So rehabilitation actually seems like it could happen out there where you're at, though, as
Yeah.
opposed to here. It seems like they just warehouse them away, and then it's just a revolving door.
And plus, you don't have that stain mark when you get out that you were a villain. Like, it's against the law to say if have you been incarcerated, or like that's none of their business. You know what I mean? So you don't have to put that down on job lot. Well, it is really? Like that now, but before, no.
Oh, okay. Right? Okay. Got you.
Right? Like they've changed it now, right? Because now if you have a criminal, then you're stained for life, which is, I don't understand that. When you're a young man and you come from broken homes and stuff like that, because that's government putting people in, poor people here, and stuff's going to happen. And now you're stained for life because you made like one mistake. Like, you know what I'm saying, right? Right? Like, it's just not fair, man. No, it's not right. It's not like they say justice. Like, okay, I did a crime. I did my time. It should be over with, right? No,
I always thought that people that go in, like, you'd say, let's say you rob a car or whatever. All right, you're sentenced to 5 to 10. You served that sentence, so that should be it. Now, if you want to talk about like pedophilia, maybe murder and stuff like that, I understand that, that's going to stain you up a bit. Especially pedophilia. I have there's no remorse coming from me with that shit. But something like you're 19, 20 years old, you steal a car. Who never done that in their, what I mean, teens or 20s?
Yeah.
And then, you happen to get caught and then you're just, it's tough.
It's tough, man. Yeah. Like basically what they're saying is, okay, you break the law once, you might as well kiss your life goodbye. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Like, I mean, I've met some of the smartest brains when being incarcerated than I have. Like, you wouldn't believe the minds they got locked up in there. Like, it just, that would, if given a chance, could change their life around overnight like that. Just given that chance. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah.
Like they think that you break the law and you're evil. A lot of these laws are made up by politicians that like to have the odds against young people. Like look at this stuff. Like we can look at today, but even back then, like all the issues. Like, how do you expect young people to adapt to? The root of it is all from government. They create everything. You know what I mean, with their agendas. You know what I mean? And, like when you investigate stuff, like I'll use the women's lib. The women's lib was designed to get both parents out of the home so they can tax two people in the one home. That's how greedy and sick they are. Wow. You know what I mean? And the head of the women's lib was a CIA agent. So like this is what I'm saying, right? This is the dirty tricks that they do. So they create all the situation they put people in. Now, how are you going to raise your children properly when nobody's home? Right? No quality time, no anything. Like I've actually researched children that were homeschooled from home. Nothing wrong with them. Actually, they read the right books, not the indoctrination stuff, but the history and the science and all. Like we've been indoctrinated. Like you know what I mean? Like. And we don't think for ourselves. We're taught to respect authority, don't ask questions. Whatever the government says, that's it. And, you know what I mean? That's just, right? So like I said,
one question, and I'm always fascinated with this question is, why do you think though why do you then think? Because like you said, hey, 25 years to life. I mean, you're still getting out for murder, this or that though. Do you think that RICO plays a part, though, meaning in the mob activities out there as to why is it still kind of like it was around here in the old days where you're at now? Because I mean, it still is. And like, but around here, no, it's not. It's more almost like online crimes and stuff like that. Because I mean, you guys have the same phones. You have cameras everywhere and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm still reading about mob hits out there all the time.
Yeah, but it says in the statute the maximum sentence for murder is 25 years. That's it. There's none of this 99. Now, if you do 2 murders, right? If they decide if you cooperate to make them consecutive, concurrent, or whatever, but they can charge you for, and then you're doing 50 years, right? But the maximum sentence on murder is 25 years. That's it. That's why they say armed robberies 10 to 15, right? So they have that gap from 10 years to 15 years, right? But maximum is 15 years for armed robbery. Now, if anybody's hurt, then that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Right. So, so like I said, in that fashion of law, like that, like 99 years for racketeering, right? Like there's a thing where there's a victim. Like it's like when you get pulled over by the cops and you were speeding and they want to search your car. Like that's just bullshit. There's no victim. They shouldn't even be allowed. We pay for the roads. So how are they penalizing? And I'll tell you why. You know what? Because a driver, there's 2 laws of the world. There's the law of the land and then the law of high seas, which is maritime admiralty law, which is corporate law. That's why we always have papers and we sign contracts and have to register, which we really don't. We can get into that like on another one. I don't want to indulge in that, but there's a difference between a driver and then a traveler, right? So if you're driving, a driver by Black's Law Dictionary is somebody that works in commerce, taxi driver, bus driver, truck driver. That's why the stop signs and red lights, not because they're carrying cargo, either passengers or, right? They have cargo that's right. A driver, when you're going to work, you're just traveling. So basically the red lights and the stop signs are for taxi drivers, truck drivers, bus drivers, right? Because they're carrying cargo, which is all in commerce, right? So when you're traveling, you're just going from point A to point B, and you're not driving in your car. You're driving in your automobile. See, they use words to fool us. Like they call it legal knees, right? Like they really trick people. Do you understand? And all that stuff. So when they ask you, do you understand? That means like we think that's just, do you understand what he's telling you? No, it's, do you understand our authority over you, right? And then when you say yes, you're giving them authority over you, which these are public servants. They work for us. Like, see how they trick us into that. And then when you sign, then you're giving them authority. Like, you know what I mean? It's all, they really trick us that way,
Yeah.
Right. I've been helping people with this. Like I was telling on what, I think when I did a little cameo or something about paying taxes, not paying insurance and all that. This is why, right? All you have to do is like, you don't need it, right? Yeah. I can show people how to do it, but that's another show.
No, I hear you. I want to jump back to you and your, so where now, or would you say like you and your buddy Dean now, tell me more a little bit about Dean and your guys' relationship and what happened with Dean, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay.
If it's too touchy or
no. I know what we met. His family moved into our neighborhood in Flemington Park, and I believe it was grade 3. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and he was the new kid, and somebody told me that the new guy was holding or trying to hold hands with my girlfriend. Right? So I confronted him, and all of a sudden, you know how it is in public school. Oh, there's a fight after school. Be on the hill after school at 3.
It's almost how you meet most of your best friends is through fighting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. And this is how smart he is. I'll get into how amazing, how how high intellect he was. So after school we meet, he shows up and I'm showing off for my friends, doing that. And so while I'm showing off, he just tackles me and gets me down and doesn't let go, fight over. Right? And I'm thinking to myself, my God, that was smart. You got to respect that. You know what I mean? So right away we shook hands, and ever since that day,
mutual respect after,
we were inseparable. Because before my father left, I used to get bullied, be called racial names, like I used to get the living piss kicked out of me almost every day at school. So he told me, you come home crying one more time, I'm gonna beat you. So he showed me a few things and that. So all in that one day, I went and took care of all those guys, all in one day. And that's where my name came up. How the legend started. Right. And that's how that came. And when Dean came, because he was good looking, all the girls were all over him, guys were getting jealous, all wanted to take him on. And he took them on, right? And I was right there with them. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? So my God, he got more problems than I ever did, just because he was good looking, boy, you know what I mean, right? So so we grew tough, really strong bond at a very young age. Like, never mind all the high school pranks, but we were doing some serious stuff. Like when you learn how to, hot wire a car and all that stuff, right? We had to practice. So we used to practice. His father used to drive taxi, so we used to practice on his father's car. And then all of a sudden, okay, we'll try another car. So once we got that down, right, and then to flip the ignition with the screwdriver, then we had to try that for real this time, right? So the easiest cars we were taught to steal like that were Mustangs, which, we all love Steve McQueen, right? So I remember we got this Mustang, and I had a hockey game, and I had a girlfriend at the time. He had a girlfriend, and we drove to my hockey game. You know what I mean? Like, I usually got a ride from my friend's father. Like, all the guys on my team were all in the neighborhood, but I used to go with my friend's father, Mr. Gallen. And so anyways, so it's funny when you're a good athlete, how people have a blind eye to stuff. So here we are, like, you know what I mean? So young, couldn't even hardly see it. Well, we had phone books, like, he was driving, right? Had phone book. His dad taught him to drive very young, right? Anyway, so he was always the driver, but he had to put phone books down. But we drove to my hockey game, and everybody knew it and didn't say a thing, right? So we started hot wiring cars, and then then they started teaching us to do other stuff, like doing alarms, doing safes, doing stuff like that, right? We were with one of the best con man thieves, like in the whole city, that were in our neighborhood, and we did pretty good at it. And then we never ever got caught on that. And then that stench, when I went to London, and that Dean worked on doing what he was doing, and I was doing what I was doing in London, Ontario. And then by the time I came back to Toronto, we were both well schooled in, this and doing whatever. So these older guys used to get us to go and collect their money for them, like put us to work, right? And they used to call us the kids, right? We'll get the kids, right? So it worked out. Like, nobody would notice us coming at them. Kids, right? Right? But, and the thing is with him and I was everything, it was serious stuff, but it was always funny. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't seem serious what we were doing, but it wasn't. Like, he felt safe with me, I felt safe with him, right? Right? So we started off that way, collecting money for the local. His name was Volpe. You can look him up there, right? He was in the neighborhood, and then we got into collecting money just for everybody, right? Um, so anyways, after London, Ontario, so it had to have been 3 years. So it had to have been 15 when we found out where my mother went to. And so I ended up out in Edmonton, Alberta. That's where when she left us, looked us in the eye at Easter, said she's going to the store for bread and milk and didn't come back. Her boyfriend was there in the car. She hopped in the car. They went right to the airport and gone, right? So out there, nothing was in my mother's name. That's why we couldn't find her. We didn't know if she was dead or alive for the longest time, right? And so I ended up going out there. My father didn't want me back in the home, which I didn't want to go back. I was getting in a lot of trouble, in London there, right? So I ended up going out to see my mother. And my first day there, I remember it was minus 69. They get Arctic cold winters out there. I'm going out there in my leather jacket and my gold chains off the plane. I froze. I tell you, my gold was sticking to my skin, man. I tell you, man, a cold place, right? So my mother was with the guy that she took off. His name was Jim. And first night there, this is before pay TV first started out. Before I left for Alberta, they did the simulcast TV with the Who concert. So from the Who concert, then I went to the airport right from the Who concert, right? So and that's is when pay TV came out, where you had to pay to watch movies and stuff like that, right? That was what, 1983 or something, or 82, 83, something like that, I think, right? So anyways, I'm out there. My mom enrolls me in school. I'm the only man with color in that school. And the word is I'm from Detroit, not Toronto, right? So I had a lot of problems there and got in a lot of trouble. And my best friend out there, his name was Dean too. He was a native Indian guy too, right? And his name was Dean too. Like that's two. All my best friends, wherever I ended up, all my three best friends in my whole life, they're all named Dean. You believe that?
That's great.
Yeah. So while I was out there, I started drinking. I was doing acid with my mother and her boyfriend. Like we were doing drugs. Like he was a drug dealer. Like my mom was always messed up, and he ended up getting rough with my mother. He pushed her out of his truck. My mother ended up in the hospital. So when she came back, she was reluctant to tell me what happened. He wasn't saying anything, and then finally she told me. So when she told me, because since I was there, he had another apartment, right? So like when I moved in there, he went and got himself another apartment, but I knew where it was. So I went to his apartment. He lived on the second floor. I climbed up on the balcony. I opened it up. He was passed out naked on his couch, and he had a big 40-ouncer of vodka sitting on his table. Guess what happened to his noodle? So I got in there, I picked it up, and just boom. Right. Took care of business, thought everything's all right. He phoned the cops on me, gets back to my mother. My mother locks the door on me. In minus, I think the coldest temperatures on record in Edmonton, Alberta on that night, and she locked me out, said she didn't want me here anymore.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, man. I think about it now. It's just, you talk about cold-hearted stuff, man, but that's him putting the pressure on, right?
Yeah.
Like also to the control he had her under via getting her hooked on the drugs. Like,
I was gonna ask. Okay, and he was her main.
Yeah, I don't know that then. I know nothing about addiction and control and what I mean. But
yeah,
just the thought of her disappearing for all those years, nobody knew, and looking us in the eye and going to the store for milk and bread on Easter, with the turkey in the oven, you know what I mean? Never came back,
Yeah.
and then I'm out there, and then in the door, I come back after, I'm thinking I did hey, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You're
My mom,
defending her.
right? Yeah, she out and out, locked the door. And then I'm banging on the door, and then she phoned the cop. I heard on the phone, my son's here. He's trying to get in. I don't want him here. So I had the, I had to, get out of there. I ended up, I didn't know where to go. We didn't have cell phones and all that, right? So I'm like doing the drop, and this is like maybe 10 at night, on a school night, right? So I ended up going to the school, and I found the warmest where the wind wasn't blowing, and that's where I stayed all night, so anyways, when school started, I got warm. I knew that the police would be coming to the school to look, because I really messed him up good with the vodka bottle, right? Yeah. So here I am on the run again, right? But I tell you, I never froze. You haven't experienced cold like that, man, right? And wow, I'm like, what are you gonna do now? So I ended up, Dean and he was having problems, so we ended up a couple of days hitchhiking from Alberta to Vancouver.
Okay.
So wow, what a trip that was. I mean, here we are, two young guys, 15 years old, 14, 15 years old. And like I say, there's a lot of creeps out there.
Yeah.
Guys that are picking us up and stuff. So we fucked up. The guy underestimated us. Like, you know what I mean? Like Dean, he was experienced at hitchhiking. So I didn't know he was prepared, but he, a couple of guys that gave us rides, man, we had to fuck them up, right? And
fucking sick world out there. Yeah.
Especially in the cold. So we ended up fuck him up. Then we take his car, and then we didn't have much money. So after, like, we had the budget, of course, like, so we used that car as long as we could. Then we had to ditch it, right? Like, so, right. So we had to catch another ride. And so anyways, we ended up getting, about 4 or 5 days later, we ended up in Vancouver, and he knew some people there, and it was just like one big giant house with all bunch of street kids staying in it, right? And of course, everybody's looking to make a buck, doing schemes, thinking of stuff, right? I was experienced in a few things. I know how to get cars. I know how to, crack safes. I know how to, I was a good, I can break and enter anything almost back then, right? And so things on the one place that we did, nobody was supposed to be home. It was very bad information. It was just somebody that didn't care. We should have known better, but we went anyways. And not just the one guy, the people were home, and he was no slouch, and well, that was very ugly. We got away from that, but after that, like, I was in Vancouver for like maybe 2 months, and then after that, then I knew, because they was all over the news with our descriptions and all that stuff, and these kids, and somebody would have dined us out, like, you know what I mean, right? So I ended up taking the Greyhound bus all the way back to Toronto. 5-day ride on the bus. So from 15, so I when I ended up back in Toronto, I just turned 16. Yeah, because I was out in Edmonton for 83, to about 85, going into 86, right? So when I came back to Toronto, now I'm on the run from beating up my mother's boyfriend. I'm on the run, but they didn't have my name at first in Vancouver. until later, right? So I found that out late, but I was already gone. My friend Dean out there, he ended up getting caught. He never ratted me out or not, but he never got out. But he was killed in juvenile jail. He was stabbed to death.
Oh man.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is Dean, like your Rex, the first you're
No, the Dean, Dean too, from
Dean too. Okay.
the Native Indian guy. Yeah.
Oh, got you.
Yeah. My Dean didn't get murdered until when he was like 55 years old, right? So, but
okay.
I'll get to that.
Yeah. Take your time.
Yeah. So now I'm back in Toronto, and Dean picks me up at the Greyhound, and I stayed with him for a while. But I mean, his parents have split up by then, so I mean, she can't feed two kids, you know, like, you know what I mean, right? And so I was flopping around here and there, and then I started selling drugs. I got into selling LSD, acid, hash, all that stuff. And one particular night, I had to deal with these older guys, and one guy just out blindsided me, took my dope, and then rip off, right? But I always used to carry a switchblade with me, or a butter light. Like I always had a knife or something with me. So knocked me down. I was dazed for a while. They were walking away. So when I got up, still did, I followed them. And then I started chasing them, and they tried to run into their building, but they couldn't get the keys in the side of the building door open. So I got them. I stabbed 3 of them. Got them. Right. That was my first pinch for. As a, fuck, that was 3 attempt murder at first, and then they dropped it to aggravated assault. Yeah. Right. So I got 18 months for that only. So because of my age plus the circumstances, they hit me, like, you know what I mean? It's not like I went to them, right? So
so it's more a self-defense situation.
Yeah. So like 16, you're considering an adult here, right? So I'm on the cusp of, but it was in the summertime. I just turned 16, right? So, but anyways, I got 18 months for that, right? What up? So again, you meet all kinds of crazy kids. You know what I mean? Ooh, damn. Yeah, I met.
All of this is probably bringing back a lot of feelings too.
Yeah, because there were so many like kids my age that just never had a chance. Like we were talking about our justice system. Like a lot of these kids, you can just tell they're just going to end up back in prison. Like they just didn't give a fuck. Like you're out there in the world, you're cold, you're hungry. Everybody that was supposed to trust have let you down, or tried to take your manhood away, or something, right?
Yeah.
So and there wasn't proper. If you went to a counselor, you were considered weak. So you're not really dealing with your issue. It's about survival now, right? So everybody clicks up, right? So obviously I click up, right? So I wasn't in there that long. I think out of the 18 months I did, but I think it was like 6. I think I did 6 months, or maybe just a little less than 6 months on that one. Right. Because back then, it was a third of your time. It wasn't 2/3 or anything. Right. So I guess that's why. Right. Right. Yeah. So after that, me and Dean hooking up now. He's well seasoned what he does. I'm just getting out, and so we start. So like everybody else, we start doing heists. You know what I mean? We did a lot of good heists, but a lot of stuff goes bad. You can plan something out like perfectly, but just things that's
not expected. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you about one. He would call me, or you know, he would call me at weird hours of the morning, like because I still try to maintain in my sports and all that too, right? So when we weren't together, unbeknownst to me, he's out casing plate because he used to deliver janitorial supplies. Like that was his day job, driving a van. Like, you know, he was still going to school. And so anyways, he hooked up with this guy out in the west end of Toronto. And he was telling us that there's a girl coming back from Jamaica and she's got 2 pounds of grass. You know, when you guys go and get, you know, so okay, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is a funny story. Yeah. So, anyways, we go to the airport. Buddy's there. He points her out. She's coming in when she's getting her luggage and everything. Right now, we don't have any police badges or anything. So she comes out. We have our Metro Pass, like to take the TTC, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like, you know, right? Because none of us had a driver's license at the time, right? Like, if we didn't steal a car, we're like, but anyway, this guy drove us, anyways. Long story short. So, anyways, she comes out and she's a big girl, and so Dean walks up to her and he goes, flash of arrows. He goes, "Excuse me, Miss RCMP, you want to come with us, please? We've been reason to believe you've been used as a pawn to smuggle narcotics into the country." And she's, you know, stunned and all that, right? So instead of her taking her into the room, we take her out of the airport and across into the parking lot, into the staircase, and we're searching her. Dean's got her dress over her head, checking out there. I got her suitcase open, you know, her go rifling through it. All she brought back was actually, we couldn't find nothing. She had 2 bottles of rum, right? Yeah. So, and that's those heads. So he's looking at me, you know what I mean? I'm looking at him going, you know, where else can we check? You know, right? So Dean starts going, well, you know, it's illegal to bring back alcohol too, and so we're going to take a bottle, and we'll let you go with 1 bottle, you know, stuff like
that. Well, you had the one.
Yeah, gotta get something, right? So, anyways, later on that night, so after we do that, we hopped back in Buddy's car. We're telling you, she didn't have it. We got the rum, so we go back to his place, and about maybe not even an hour goes by. Somebody calls where he is, and then it's the girl. She says, "You wouldn't believe what happened to me. These 2 Miami Vice looking cops came at me at the airport." Like she was supposed to do it, but she chickened out, so she didn't bring anything up. This is where we got the nickname Crockett and Tubbs, right? Because back then the TV show Miami Vice, right? Yeah. And we used to dress like that, you know, you know, like those guys, right? You know, these 2 Miami Vice looking guys, she says, right? Cops, right? But she bought it that we were cops still, right? But that was funny, yeah. Right, so.
2 bottles of rum. You gotta get something, though. You gotta get something. At least you got the bottle. You gotta get something.
Yeah, but it was just funny the way he put her dress over her head. She's a big girl.
Oh, man.
You know, like, where do you look? I don't think she's got it in her underwear, Dean. You know, I don't even call it. She had, I don't know, big, you know, but it was funny, right? So yeah, like guys used to call us to do stuff like that if they knew somebody was bringing something back, or like, you know, anything. We were up for anything. Like he used to call me so many times, you know, "Hey, what are you doing?" "I'm sleeping." You know, he goes, "I got something." Okay. You know what I mean? Off we go, right? But that's what he used to do in his spare time. Like during his day job, he scoped things out, right? And yeah, so wow, yeah, he was highly intellectual. And so anyways, so now I'm back in Toronto. Now oh, this is before. This is when what did I do then? I was up on another assault charge. I was on the run again. Whatever. We were downtown. The cops been looking for me. We're downtown Toronto on Yonge Street, and we noticed we're being followed, so we ducked in. We didn't know at the time it was a Scientology. It was a Scientology place. So we we hopped in there, and they had like tables, like in a square, but long tablecloths. So we dove underneath them. We hear the cops come in. They don't see us. But one of the girls there seen us slide under the table to hide. So the cops left. Like there was a lot of them, right? So, anyways, she got us away from the front and moved us in the back. Like this girl was cool. Anyway, so to kill the time, she made us do a IQ test, right? She says, "One of you guys has, so fills it out. His IQ was 169. But you know what I mean? Yeah, that's just insane, right?
Yeah.
Like now that I think about it, with all the stuff and how like I used to think he was a little off, weird, but now I know why, right? Because they feel and see and sense things more than the rest of us, right? Right.
Yeah.
Mine was like 134 or something like that. But yeah, he was way up there, right? And I ended up getting caught anyways, and it was assault because the guy ratted on us, but it was up on $1 million. It was in front news on the newspaper. It was $1 million car theft, car stereo ring, right? And that's the guy that ratted on me. Right. So my friend that I set him up with, like,
Yeah.
he came and asked me, right? So so I got ratted on and that case went on for a while, so it ended up pleading out anyways, right? So I didn't get much time on that, but thank God. But I mean, when we were talking about these guys that don't do the crime, you can't do the time, like,
Yeah.
like, yeah, that really hurt, right?
Yeah.
And so anyways, I got out on an early
No accountability at all, just pointed the finger at you.
yeah and the thing is too, I'm living like in a room, renting a room off off a friend's friend, and the cops come and trash their place, like, like just embarrassing, like, so anyways, so I get out, my friend of mine, a Greek guy, we used to call him Blue, but John got me a job with his uncle delivering furniture. So I did that. I try to keep my nose clean here where I can, doing crime, right? But if I didn't do that, I probably would have ended up back in a lot sooner than than I did from the other time, right? So so I was delivering furniture with Costa for a good few years, and he's teaching me the business. I learned a lot of skills on business wise, how to do taxes, how to hide the taxes, and stuff like that, right? And so I did that for a while, and then Dean got in trouble. Somebody called him in the middle of the night. Guy said he had a weapon. Dean comes down with a gun that I gave him, right? I'll tell you the story. I'll go back to the story about the gun. But anyway, Dean ends up shooting the guy because we were going to go do something else, and I gave him the gun, and he used the gun we were supposed to use on another job. But anyway, he ends up shooting the guy because the guy was going to shoot a friend of ours. So he just went in and boom, right? Didn't kill him, guy. Like he knew what he was doing. He shot him in the leg. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
There's a difference of attempted murder. It all depends where you hit on the body, right? So he was like, this is what I mean. Dean was sharp like that, right? And so he got pinched for that. He got sentenced 3 years for that. And here's the thing. I think that was that his first offense? I think that was that was only his second. And his first offense was stealing somebody's bike. What it was, he just we're at a party and he went for a ride on a bike. It was a nice bike, and then somebody said that gave his name up, and they threw the book at him. They gave him 1 year for stealing a bike. Like, you know what I mean? Like probation, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
1 year probation for
First offense.
yeah, his first, like. He never caught a break, I guess, because he was just too good looking that people just wanted to always stick it to him, like, you know what I mean, right? I don't know. He always had bad luck. Me, I guess because of my story, because always when your lawyer speaking out, well, he comes from a broken home, and you know what I mean, right? You know what I mean, right? So I was lucky in that respect. And him, never. Like they always threw the book at him for some reason, right? But yeah, so yeah, man, yeah, like we're
You guys are where are we at now? Now you're in 20s yet, or you're like
no. Okay, so let me
yeah.
think.
Well, what's adult life like? Like lower, like first off, obviously, as you know, we're not glorifying any of this because I know you
No,
changed
hell no.
you changed your whole life around and all that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
what was like, adult life like for you? Like,
yeah.
obviously we're wild. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't even get past 18 yet.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. So, anyways, so anyways, we ended up. I'll just say the new chapter of the dynamic duo, right? He just finished doing his time on that bullshit beef with the gun, and so he got a job working at. Well, we used to hang out at a rock and roll place, music. It was called the Gasworks. We're all like before they make it big bands. If you don't play at the Gasworks, then that's where you get your record deals, or you just got your record deal, and then you play there, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we used to hang out there and practice our craft with the guys they used to throw out because we weren't 19 yet. Drinking age here is 19. Right. It's funny, you can go to jail when you're 16, but you can't drink until you're 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can even go to war, like but that's yeah. So, anyways, this is where New York Dave comes in. I don't know if it's the same New York Dave. I remember you were saying New York Dave, right? But anyways, the place was called the Gasworks, and we used to practice our craft on guys they throw out. And if they would throw them out, and then we would step in them so they don't come back, and then a couple of them throw me, and then we thump them, right? So, anyways, we thumped this one guy this one night, and the owner of the place, after all the stuff we did for him, like backing him up, watching his back, because his son was a doorman too, right? He gave up our names, right, when we thumped those guys, right? So really nothing came of it. The guys didn't show up for court. We kind of beat that rap, but we still had to go through the system, So unbeknownst to me, after that, I was just starting. I had a girlfriend, and girl was pregnant, and so I was kind of trying to chill. Well, meanwhile, when I'm in that phase, he's out casing the Gasworks.
Always casing.
So it's like, oh yeah, you turn your back on us. So watch this. So we ended up doing a heist and stealing, ripping off the Gasworks. For like, we got like 30 grand out of it, right? So,
Nice
yeah, and the thing was too, he was in love with his girl, and her father took her away to Greece for the summertime, and it was only supposed to be for the summer, but she wrote him a letter saying that she's not coming back, and that broke his heart. So this is why we took down the Gasworks, right? So he went to Europe to go and find her, and her father almost killed him. As soon as when he seen him on his lawn, you know what I mean, right? He never got to see her, but that's how he was. Like, he was really in love with this girl, right? Right? And yeah, man, like he was just like that, adventurous, just spontaneous. Be bored. Yeah. Just like so many times I get called, what are you doing? Nothing. Boom. Okay, let's go here. But he already have it prearranged, pre-planned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. So, yeah, man. So, wow. Yeah, that was another good score that we did a nice heist. What else? Oh, yeah. Okay. So while he's in Greece, I'm hanging at this place called The Connection. It's downtown Toronto. It's called The Connection. The nickname was called The Selection because of all the women. So we used to call it The Selection. Anyways, one night in there, there's a guy who gets out of line. He ends up getting thumped out, right? Of course, on me, with the racial names and all that, right? So I give it to him, right? So I think it's over. All of a sudden, an hour later, after we toss him out, he comes back with his big brother. Now, his big brother's like 6'3", a big guy, but I didn't know who they were. They were like the pimps of downtown Toronto. And they had the hats and the fur coats, but they were huge guys. So I got beat. You know what I mean? Right? So I found out who these guys were afterwards. And then Dean was coming back. He come and see me, and I'm still laid up. Man, my face was, right? So he goes, "We're gonna get these guys," right? So anyways, some time passes, so I'm healed up now. So we go down and we get these guys. So on the bottom, okay, the connection was on the top floor, and then there was a strip bar called the Brass Rail on the bottom. And those guys used to hang out there, and they also hanged around another bar across the street. So we're loaded. So they're all sitting there. Dean taps on the glass, right, with the gun, and they look up, and he's telling them to come out. They don't come out, right? So nothing really become of that. So they put the word out that you tell those two, because we're known back then too downtown, that we see them again, we're going to kill them and all that stuff. So we say, well, you tell them when we see them, we're going to get them. Right. Yeah. So now like people are going, you guys are just kids. You can't take on, his name was Noel or something. You guys can't take on these guys. And plus they were hooked up with the Camisos, right? Camiso brothers, right? They were big back then, right? Mob guys, right? So anyways, they literally chickened out. Nothing ever became of it. They just backed off, apologized, and so it got straightened out that way through the Camisos and what they heard about us, and it's a small world in the underground. You know what I mean, right? So our names were good, and so the beef got squashed. Okay, I got trimmed up. Okay, nobody has to die. You know what I mean, right? So this is how we hooked up with the Camiso brothers. So they used to run after hours place. This one after hours, club. It was called the I think they called it the White Rabbit or something like that. It's a big after hours club. Like back in those days too. Everybody if you lived in a big house, you have a party, but you have the beer in the basement in the fridge and you sell the beers, like everybody was doing it, right? But they had live bands, like they were like little lectures. They had the live music and stuff like that, right? And so anyways, there were three floors to this place. And one guy was really being nasty with because me and Dean used to be the door guys, like the security, like we always used to get hired to, watch the door and all that stuff, right? So anyway, this guy's getting out of line with women and all that. He's just being a jerk, right? He's being a jerk with us. So anyways, we didn't know where he was, but whatever drugs he was on, I guess he was trying to come off it, because he opened up a window and he was like on the ledge of the window like that. And so when we found out where he was, somebody came down and told, oh, he's up there leaning out the window getting some air. So time we got up there, he wasn't there. And we didn't know. We figured, okay, he must have gone there. We didn't even think to look out the window, right? So maybe a half hour later, people were, because the guy fell out the third story window and he died. So people thought me and him did it.
Jesus.
Oh yeah. But Dean's like, hey, he goes, hey, just keep it down. He says, hey, this is some good street credit, like kind of thing. Hey, let them think what they want. You know what I mean? Right? This is like Camiso's, right? So you know what I mean? We didn't deny or confirm, right? So our names got even bigger, right? With those guys, right? So so that's how dealing with the Italians, how all that started from from that time. Right.
Not to go too far off track, could you tell me a little bit? Because I was always fascinated. They called him known the John Gotti of Canada. Do you know anything about the Rizzutos?
Oh yes, yeah. I'll tell you how we met him. Like I said, Dean was always what's up? He, like when we were together, he was always doing something, right? So anyways, I says we're going to Montreal. We're gonna go and meet these guys. I go, what guys? He goes, he says this guy. Like this is probably 1988, 89. It was a couple of years after the three captain thing, right? So Dean's telling me,
the Banana three captain.
Yeah. So we go, we're gonna go sit down because he was one of Rizzuto's lieutenants. His name was Renaud Desjardins, right? And that's who Dean's linked with. They linked up when Dean was doing a little bit of time. That's where they met. But anyways, so we drove down to Montreal, and he's telling these guys are serious. Like he's going, these guys went down to New York, and he's telling me the story, right? So okay. So anyway, we meet in this fancy restaurant, and there he is sitting at the table. He welcomed us. We're the kids, so we get introduced as the kids from Toronto, right? And so we sat down. We had a meal with the guy. He's cracking jokes. You know what I mean?
Vito?
Yeah,
Vito
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like right? And there was boxing going on. So the plan was that we were to sit down, talk business with his lieutenant, and then have dinner, and then go to the fights, right? And that's what we did. So that was our first introduction to him, and we sat right behind him. He had his crew, and we were right behind him, right? And he kept coming back, and you know what I mean, talking to us and all that stuff, right? So but his crew that we were associated with big time. We used to have comforters. A friend of ours had like a store. He sold comforters, like camping stuff, basically, right? So we used to use his truck and bring back stuff from Montreal through that, but we used the comforters. So we used to stash all this is when we're doing hash, right? So we get like 200 plates of hash, 200 keys, right? And then we bring it back, right? So that's how we used to do it, right? So we mostly went through Renard, but we're very rarely in the presence of Vito, right? But I can tell you that my time, like Dean more than me, but he was a straight up guy. He was funny, you know what I mean? And he can, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't just he can go, right? And he liked the action, right? Yeah, he was a I was impressed, right? Yeah, right.
And he was so with his so everyone around knew like this guy was the real Vito Rizzuto. Like reputation was through the roof.
Yeah, like he wasn't big then, because after that he got up in status, so he became his father's I guess one of his top captains or something, and had his own crew, right? But he was like Dean, a magnet. Like the way him and Dean remind me of each other, because people were just drawn to these guys, like, you know what I mean? Like
very charismatic too.
Yeah, right. And the same with Dean, right? So like I said, he more interacted with those guys in Montreal than I did, right? But a few times I was in his company, and we were doing a lot of business with them, though, right? I'd meet his bag man, right? when we have to pay, they send somebody down, or we go there, or whatever what the situation was, and that went on for years. Damn. And then in the so let's jump in the 90s when he put all the gangs together. So now here in Toronto, because we already had our crew, we had our boxing club. Now the Hells Angels went to all our biker clubs in Toronto, and they said, "Hey, if you're not a Hells Angel, then heads up." You know what I mean, kind of thing. They tried to recruit us to be under their umbrella, and we told them no. Right, we didn't have to. We were 200 strong, anyways. We were our crew. was number one in Toronto. Everybody wanted to be with us, like, you know what I mean, right? So we didn't need to be under anybody's authority or umbrella, right? And they were told that, you know, and Zudo like that too. They all like that. We had big, you know, so we got respect from everybody.
Balls.
Yeah. This top respect, you know, right? And but the biker wars, wow.
But the biker out of Canada, though, I mean, that's big time out there.
Oh man, I mean, it was. See here with our crew, like everybody needs new weapons. Once you use a weapon, you have to get rid of it, because if you don't, then you're getting tied for, you know, tied for murder, you know, right? Yeah. So, but no, they wanted silencers, they wanted all kinds of stuff. So we had a guy that was good at that. You know what I mean? Making bombs, you know, you name it, right? So we were getting, you know what I mean? Like we were pretty like this for the longest time, right? You know, right? But yeah, that was wild times. And we used to have to raise money for our boxing gym. We used to have steak parties. So one of their chapters from a little north of Toronto, this is the shootout that we had, right? And plus the war in Yugoslavia was going on against the Croats and the Serbs, right? And one of the guys in one of the clubs, even before all the war started, Dean and him always had a thing with the chicks, because he was a big guy, had the long hair, good looking guy, but this guy was a steroid guy, right? And there was kind of a rivalry with Dean. Dean's Croatian and he's Serbian, right? So anyways, we're having a steak party for the Simcoe chapter, Hell's Angels, and this guy shows up, and he's little. You can tell he's a little hopped up. He's got the walk, you know those type of guys. You know what I mean, right? And so the party's going on. And then Dean shows up. All of a sudden, his face drops, and he, you know, he's not saying it quite. He says, "I'm going to shoot that guy tonight. I'm going to get him." Right? Dean was banging one of the girls he used to. It's not his fault. Like, I mean. Like, excuse me, who's your boyfriend? Like, you know, like,
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, this guy's insane. But I didn't have to fuel up, because he was like the strong arm of his chapter, and in Toronto, like he was a big guy. Guy looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like he was like a big guy, right? And he always had, like, a lot of guys always had it in for Dean like that. Dean had the long hair too, right? And good looking guy, right? And yeah, so little did he know, we're no dummies. When we have gangsters renting our boxing club out for steak parties, you know, in the lockers, you know, you know what I mean, right? So he was actually going to try to shoot Dean. He said it, and then, you know, then you can just tell all these sneaky little moves. One guy passing it, like, you know, and I'm telling another guy, "Hey, it's on, man. It's fucking on," right? So we go to the trainer, and we just come out and we just started blasting them. That was it, you know. Unfortunately, he's in a wheelchair to this day. Nobody died from it, but we made our point, you know. He crawled his way out of the boxing club, and then he made it out to the street, and he made it upstairs, and he was banging on people's door. He happened to bang on a friend of ours' door, and she phoned, "There's a guy bleeding, asking for help, the ambulance," and all this stuff. So we went over, and it was him. So he got shot again. I'm not going to say by who or not, but he's in a wheelchair he's like a paraplegic now and everything, right? So that's what happened there. So anyways,
but he kept his mouth shut though too about who did anything, right?
Yeah.
So you got to give it up though to him on that end though too. At least he was.
Oh yeah, he had to. He was one of those guys that had the big ego, and for him to even say that would have ruined it. Like, because you always think you're going to heal. I don't know, right? But he didn't open his mouth. But I mean, there was bullet holes everywhere, man. Like, and plus there's civilians in there, like, you know, like girls, like strippers and.
Yeah. Well, millions. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But Yeah. So, anyways, the word is that we're all dead. We're all gonna get it. The guys are gonna kill us. We went right up to their clubhouse and called them out, and they didn't come out. So, not to say anything bad about that club. That club is dangerous. These guys are serious, but that chapter was weak, and I think they folded them after that, anyways, because of that. Because they started because a lot of us had a lot of association with them. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of guys you went to school with that ended like we ended up doing our thing. Other guys joined motorcycle clubs. Like you know what I mean? Like Toronto, even though it's a big city, it's a small world. Like when
Small
you're
underworld, like you were saying.
yeah, right. So it was the guys that didn't know us too well that were with the mouth. So when we went back up there to say, let's dance, like, you know what I mean? Right. And they didn't even open the door. They wanted to squash it because their president actually did time with a few of our guys. You know what I mean? So, and the guy that got shot, his name was Dennis. He was way out of line. You know what I mean? Like when you're in somebody's club, you don't disrespect them. You're not even supposed to bring those in. Like, you know what I mean? Right.
Yeah.
So like I don't even know who was patting guys down at the door. Like I don't like we didn't really need to. Like we had no beef with them, so there's really no need to. Like we always had guys at the door. So I mean, but this guy brought one. So I mean, so what are you bringing that? You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, he was in the wrong, and that's what happened, and that got squashed, right? But thank God, because like I'll tell you, those guys in Montreal, man, like you don't want them, like really, man. They back then they were serious people, man. Like very serious.
What about the Hells Angels though? With the Rizzutos though, was there a correlation with them
Oh
as
yeah,
well? They
yeah.
respect each other.
Vito got all the gangs. He got all the street gangs together, all the biker clubs together, except for the Rock Machine. That's what the biker war was about. It was Monboucher's actually his best friend growing up didn't want to go with the Hells Angels, so he made his own club, and actually a few of our guys that we know got killed over that because the rule was down there, if you're not if you're wheeling and dealing and you're not getting it through us, and then you die. So a lot of guys, like two guys that I know personally, that got clipped right in their driveways. You know what I mean? Right. One of them's on one of those documentaries. With they show that murder with the guy that actually took Monboucher down on a couple of murders. Danny something. He was an informant or something, right? But in that documentary, they show one of our guys, like it's a reenactment, of course, but they show it. That was sad. Yeah, they blew him away right in his driveway, coming home, right, in front of his wife and kids. It was just,
So what happened, man?
The thing
that
bothered me.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that bothers me about that, when you farm work like that out, man, you don't know what you're getting. Like some guys are just reckless, and some guys are doing it to get in. It's like their initiation. You know what I mean? So,
and a lot of guys are probably trying to really prove a point, and they're just gonna go off half cocked to just try to prove they're
like if you wanted to do that, you didn't have to get them at home. They could have it was just the way it really changed things, our perspective on them, right? And so we stopped doing things, for them, right? After that, because like it was just like, you know what, these guys are farming listed out to fucking bunch of amateurs, basically, right? You shoot it, there's, okay, we're all in it. Okay, you got to do it at the guy's house. He was no threat. He's not like, even though he's a wheeler dealer, he's not a gangster, like walking around with a guy, like he's an independent guy. You know what I mean, right? And you have to, that was it for us with them. Anyway, so we ended up working with the West End of the Irish guys. That's where our ties started with them. We stuck with those guys because these guys were doing it right, low key. When Monboucher started getting too big for himself, right, he wanted to take on the mob. Right? So he was told to stop. He didn't want to stop. Then he's killing he's murdering, jail guards, judges, newspaper people, like reporters. Like he just, you know what I mean, right? You don't want to be associated with that.
No.
And this is where because like myself, I was a big hash dealer, right? But they were linking that to terrorism now, right? Because it's coming from Afghanistan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. So that whole thing down there opened up a lot of can of worms for a lot of shit, right? Because people stopped dealing with them. The Colombians stopped, so they had to farm it out to the Middle East now, right? So a lot of guys went down for funding terrorism, right? So that was enough for me, right? And then they came out with the Gangsterism Act, and this is when they came out. That was, and then they blew up that kid.
Well, the Gangsterism Act is almost in a way like the RICO around here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what did it though? There's always that unwritten rule. If the gangsters are killing themselves, okay, we'll tolerate. But when you start killing kids, civilians, that's where you draw the line. Like I thought they would have drawn the line when they went after prison guards or newspaper reporters. But then when they blew up that kid, and they didn't even have to, it was a remote bomb, remote control. They didn't have to push that button. So this is what kind of psychopaths, you know what I mean? Right? They didn't have to blow that guy. They could have waited, fallen on, then did it. But this kid just coming home, bouncing his basketball, and kaboom. You know what I mean? Right? Like, yeah, man. And I'll tell you the truth, man. That for me was like, you know what? I can't fucking do this shit anymore, man. Like this,
That was a turning point right there.
Yeah, it was, man. Like it really was. It had a very profound effect on like all of us, not just me. Like, but for me, that was it for me. The beginning of it, right? And then, as you know, the more money you make, and guys get greedy, and then they start letting new guys come into our crew, and we don't know if they're informed, and it turns up that they were. You know what I mean? Like, like I had feds going through my garbage. My lady and the kids are watching RCMPs going through our garbage. Stuff like that, man. Right?
Yeah, it's definitely not a comfortable way to live.
Yeah,
definitely not.
Like I mean, we had a lot of good times. Like my kids knew all the guys, but it was the same thing. They're pulling up in all their fancy cars and their fancy clothes. You know what I mean, right? Right? You don't think of that stuff. I really, right? I'm glad my boy, I did a good job. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, you should be proud of that, though, man. Because I mean, you could have went. A lot of people don't. Once you get into that, though, man, a lot of people don't. You don't get out. You don't get out.
Yeah,
It was good though that you saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, I did, man. Like in and out of joint, you know what I mean? It's not a like, and if any, like I tell kids like where I work, like on my job, I'm just saying, listen, man, there's no such thing as an old drug dealer. They don't last. You know what I mean? Like, and then why you got to get into a business where you could be killed for what?
Yeah.
Like you're not making that kind of money. Like, you know what I mean? Your family's not under attack. Like, so why with all, it's just like it's hard for me to tell them after what they know, you know what I mean? But I'll tell you another thing that really messed with my mind was, I was coming home from work one night and this kid come up to me. I didn't know who he was. And he asked me what happened to his father. And I'm like, he kind of baffled me. And he kind of had this look in his eye. I go, oh, you know what? This kid's going to have trouble. So I asked him who he is. When he said the name, then I knew who his father was, and I said, I don't know what happened to your father. But like, I do know what happened to his father was a rat, so, but he wasn't with us per se, but his mother, because she knew, she must have told him that she was close with me and Dean, and like, cause he went to me, he went to Dean, he went to, a couple of guys, and this kid looked a little like, you know what I'm saying? Want to know what happened to his father, right? And right there, this kind of man, what is it worth killing some, like, you know what I mean? Like, because kids are the ones, like, when you do time, your family's doing it with you. Like,
Yeah.
and when a family member's murdered, you're creating another guy that wants revenge. Like,
Yeah, the sons, the family, like, oh yeah,
yeah,
they're gonna, yeah. Just because you put down that one person, that
yeah,
don't mean that you're gonna have
yeah,
all of his entourage
yeah.
around the 20.
That's just another can of worms that gets open, and then it comes back to bite you in
That
the
could
ass.
come out, that could come out and bite you in the ass out of nowhere. You could
Yeah,
be 10,
exactly.
20 years down the line, and
Yeah,
boom.
yeah. Like this thing. If he was on a mission to get even, and he was 100% sure that I had something to do, yeah, I would have been dead that day. Like, yeah, like, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
Right. Just stuff like that. Like even the coke that I sold to some of my friends, and then the way they turned out, man, I put that on me because I got them started in it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, did not know the consequences of so many things, man. And it does come back. Like, I had a lot of hard times myself. And that's when all that stuff starts thinking about it. You start trying to analyze what the fuck are you doing with your life, right? Just stuff like that.
and I'm not trying to put any light to it though, but even if you weren't the one that did, somebody else though would have though. So you do have to realize though, like you weren't putting a gun to their head saying, "Hey, do this," at
Well,
that same
yeah,
time.
yeah,
But
exactly.
but
Yeah, yeah,
still though, it still though weighs on you, obviously.
yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, I mean, there's guys where that stuff that they can just go like that. I was never made that way. Like, I grew up, I was very angry. I was abandoned. I didn't really care what happened to me. Nobody cared about me. So, like, yeah, like people that like your parents. I never had a mother that I can go, and when things got tough, and I can go to my mom's, or go to my dad. I never had that stuff. Like, I mean, people's had it worse, but I mean, for me, like, you know, but I mean, everything you do, man, there's consequences. I don't care, like, whether it's with you, like, when we're talking about drug addiction. I got hooked on drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, off and
Yeah,
on.
it's a battle, man. That's an internal prison in its own. It's a
Yeah,
battle.
yeah, it's hell. And you're constantly, because you don't care. I used to do things and put myself in situations where I could have got it, could have bit the dust, like, you know what I mean? But I was
Yeah,
just like,
I wonder why am I still here? Where
yeah,
so many of mine are gone, and I was doing the same shit. But it's
yeah,
like, why am I still here? Like, that's
yeah.
survivor's guilt. You know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, especially like when you're in a maximum security place, and then 23-hour lockup, and the only drug of choice around is either the coke or the heroin. Like, I mean, right? My choice. I took the the doogie. You know what I mean? I took the
I'd take the,
jazz.
I'd be on the heroin. That'd be being
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
It
exactly. A
doesn't
lot of,
last longer. See, cocaine, you do a line, then you want
yeah, yeah,
another one. So
yeah,
heroin, at least, though, you're
yeah,
okay. And this, by any means, don't do heroin,
yeah,
anyone
yeah.
out there,
Yeah, but
because
I mean, the,
you'll
the, the
change the whole.
lesser evil to me, like, that suit my personality, that suits mine, right? Right? Like, because for me, I could fake, like, nobody, like, when I was out, nobody knew except for
Yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah.
because you know, um, and it's a powerful addiction, because that's the first thing you think of when you wake up in the morning, where you're
Oh,
going to get it,
I used to be
and
afraid, Bobby. I used to be afraid to fall asleep, knowing that when I wake up, or like if I felt myself almost take a nap, I'm like, no, I can't. If
yeah,
I didn't have anything left over, I used to be so
yeah,
afraid to fall asleep.
yeah, yeah. Like for me, it was like, okay, where am I going to get it tomorrow? You know what I mean? Right. So
Yeah,
I
the
buying up
constant,
will
the
last me a few
constant.
days, but then you end up with guys that are doing it. So you're giving them, so your 3-day plan turned into a day and a half plan. So now you got to score. Like, that was my life. And if I didn't fucking find anything, man, forget about it. Like,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
was
you can't survive though without like
moody,
you.
trying to
It,
trying to be a father. You know what I mean? Trying to trying to fake it. You're sweating. You're like you're just anxious all the time, right? You're
Oh, it's
starting to
like
feel.
the skeleton's just trying to come out of your skin.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, man. Like, right. And then,
oh,
and this is why a lot of people get killed. Like when they go to rehab and they come out, they think they can start off again with what they were using before they ended up in the rehab. You know what I mean?
exactly. And then, but tolerance though goes down. And secondly, nowadays with fentanyl, it's just way too
Yeah,
dangerous.
yeah.
But people, if they were doing 4 bag shots or 4 or 5 bag, whatever, they think they just go right back to doing that.
Yeah,
You know, it's
yeah.
sad.
Like I mean, like even Dean, like I wrote in the book about how he struggles with it. Like after a while,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
don't.
What happened though with Dick? I know you're working on a book, and what did though happen though with Dean, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay. I don't know if I send you the newspaper clippings, but it's there. But what happened was he got sentenced. He got a conspiracy to import narcotics with Renaud Desjardins, the Rizzuto guy, and his crew to import shipment of hash and cocaine, and he got 2 years. So now his second wife, he was going to divorce her, but he wanted to do it on the inside and not the out, right? Because I don't care what the newspaper, she set that whole thing up. But anyways, he should have not have done what he was doing. He was trying to get extra money for just keep her happy so he can go to jail in peace and not worry about, other stuff, right? So he went over to, he got a call. He was helping out because it was a double homicide, right? So both of them go over. Buddy knew in advance. He was just waiting there. When they came in, boom, he blew them both away. Dean laid dead. He didn't die right away. He was laying in his own blood and with his guts out for about a good half an hour before when the medics.
Oh man!
And then the guy that was the driver just took off, left them all there, and I put what exactly happened with his second wife. She's dead now too. Everybody that was involved in that actually are dead now. They all overdosed. Right? So
Yeah,
right.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah.
Because that was your guy. That was your guy right there.
Yeah, I just picture him just laying in there. I was wondering like what's going through his mind when that shotgun went through.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, man. Like and his daughter and his son loved. He was a good father too, man. Like I mean, like people look at guys like us that we're rotten, we don't have feelings, we're cold and all. Like, but he was a great father, man. You know what I mean? Like hands down.
No, that's not the case either. Like, there's a lot of them though that get into it, like at a young age because they just they see the money, the flash, they think or they think it's cool or this or that. And yes, there are psychopaths that enter that life, but I just watched something the other day where they were saying there's more people that are like the non-killers that become killers, and then it just becomes easier the more they do it. It wasn't like everyone out there's like a Roy DeMeo or Tommy Karate or something like that. No.
Yeah. You nailed it right on there because I know for myself, like, once you do one thing, then it makes it a stepping stone for the next. Like, and it never goes down; it goes up, right?
Yeah.
And but Dean, getting back to Dean, he was a good father, man. Like he loved his kids. Like all my friends' kids love me too. Like I'm Uncle Bobby. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Because when it was just me and him, man, like we had the best time our kids together. Or, you know what I mean? Like if I come in, like I mean, like, and we still walked around with that stigma. Like, people think Hollywood has a big influence on people. They think like we're cold-hearted people and we don't know what love is. We don't love our kids and we're a bunch of murderers. And like, believe me, man, my stigma has followed me around like a lot of times. Like, They don't tell you
Look how
to.
you were brought up, though, Bobby. I mean, really, though, like the way that you were just born, like, I mean, into like how you're being locked out, like after, when you're talking about your mother's house and just going back and forth and this and that, like you just didn't. A lot of people don't have a chance right away, like, and they just don't know any better. It doesn't mean that you don't have feelings.
Yeah, I know. Like me, like I mean, I never had a place I could call home. Like when I was in trouble or things weren't going on, I had no home to go and like what I mean. Like, and that's hard. Like I mean, right? Like obviously, like other kids all had it worse than me with stuff that happened to them. But I mean, just the fundamentals of having a family bond, and it's messed me up through my whole life of always waiting for the shoe to drop. Like this is gonna last, but not forever. Like stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like really, man. I've literally sabotaged my own relationships. Like you know what I mean? Just out of fear that it's gonna happen one day. So and instead of the word getting around that she left me, or I left. Like the ego, right? The dumb shit, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
And it just seems like the older though we get. I know those from the addiction stuff, and I've done some bad stuff with my addiction. Just the older we get, I just we naturally don't get wiser.
Now today I could care less what anybody thinks. You know what I mean? But like I don't spend time. I don't even worry about that stuff anymore, man. Because like who the fuck are they anyways? You know what I mean? And two, man, I'm doing well. I'm good to myself. I'm good to the people that I care about. And that's it. I created my own world. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah. You don't have to look over your shoulder every second. You're making your own money now, legitimately.
Yeah.
You can spend it comfortably, not worrying about it. Yeah.
Yeah, like especially when I had the cancer, like like I'm still going through it, but I've been on the cannabis oil treatment, man. It's working, man. I gained so much weight back. I literally lost all kinds of weight, man, but now it's back. It works, man. Like he has cured. His name's Lee Whitley. He has cured so many people, man. This with his treatment, man. I highly recommend it for people because as soon as you hear you got cancer, everybody's, oh, you poor, like they already think you're gonna die already, right? And he teaches you to become, because the more positive you are in the body, it really does help.
It does help. It does. Yeah. And I think that's what's helping my father a lot, because my old man's old school. And every time I bring it up to him, like, are you okay? Though he's just like, yeah, I'm fine. What are you talking about? Like, he's just, he doesn't think about, and between you and I, well, obviously people are going to see this. Like, we didn't think we were going to have him for the holidays, and he's still here. And it's still there, but it's not spreading. But he has a great mindset. And I think that's helping,
it is. It's a health fact, like from the ancients and all. Like I've really studied on illnesses and that. They don't cure anything. They create customers, not cures. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, but your inner body and the mind is a powerful weapon. Like how people overcome things. That's because of their mind. You know what I mean? And when used right,
drug addiction had a lot to do with that too. After the physical part, the mind was the one that was there.
Like you can either heal yourself, or like some people bring it on themselves by living in fear all the time, and that's how the world is now. They have us in a state of always perpetual fear. Oh, the boogeyman in China is going to drop a nuke. The boogeyman over here, the terrorist boogeyman. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who creates these boogeymen? Like, why? And then when you're dropping bombs on children, you're creating more terrorists. Well, I even hate using that word terrorists, like, because you're fighting terror with terror. Like, tell me how that makes sense. But I mean, if somebody dropped a bomb on your family when you grow up, man, you want a little payback, like, I mean, like
I hear you there, my man. I hear you there.
It's a vicious circle, man. Fighting terror with terror. Okay.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
We all know who makes who benefits from war. It ain't us. Look how they treat our veterans. Like, it's disgusting.
Well, yeah. I mean, I even always say, whenever I see like a Vietnam vet or whatever, asking for change or asking for this or that, he's in a wheelchair because he can't walk. I mean, that man, pay the ultimate sacrifice for his country. Well, the ultimate sacrifice is death, but I'm saying, no, he gave up his limbs or this or that. He should not be out on the street. I'm sorry, but I mean, he should be taken care
that
of.
history of like the young people today in that generation don't have any feelings whatsoever about would be their great grandfathers maybe by now, like, you know, what they were up against back then, and you know, World War II, like, you know what I mean, right? Like, if you didn't go, there was something wrong with you. If you didn't go and suit up, and you know what I mean? Because a lot of nasty stuff was happening over there, right? Like, you know, and if you didn't put on the unit, you're considered a coward. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, Normandy, all that time. You could just imagine just like what they were doing, like going to the beach.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And
they seeing all your best friends get just killed right there. And there were people pissing and shitting themselves, I'm sure. I don't blame them at all.
Yeah,
but they went.
Yeah. And the thing is, that's what they signed up for. They knew it. You know what I mean? Still they went. You know what I mean? Like, wow. You know, and no respect for them. This is what I hate about Arlie, that Trudeau, man. It just as soon as when he talks, comes out of his face, that snake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, you guys got to deal with him. Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, but just for our veterans, you know what I mean, bro? No respect. Look how they're treated. Like, we idolize athletes and singers. What about them?
I know.
Like, you know, they're the real heroes. They're the real shit. They're not a Hollywood actor acting it, man. These guys
business. It's all business. It's at the end of the day. I used to always be like the firemen or the veterans or the you know, people really risking their life. Why aren't they getting paid though? Like basketball stars or this and that. But that's the entertainment.
That's what I mean. When you go over there and sacrifice your shit, man, you should be set up when you come home, man. You know what I mean?
At least the roof over your head, your medical taken care of, and you should at least be getting some type of severance. I mean, something.
Yeah, something where you can live comfortably. You know what I mean, and not have to worry.
But the ones though that get injured, they're not even physically able to work, and they're not even in anything.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
That's the real thing that really burns my ass about how we treat our veterans, man. You get a guy gets blown up, he's got no legs, got maybe one arm, and man, it's just like, sorry. Like, in the cold heartedness of it, you know, they'd be the first people, you know, I would think of, you know what I mean? That I would, boom, this money, instead of putting money in other countries, hey, we got to look after our own people, man. Well, and especially them guys.
Oh my God!
We're always like third or fourth on their fucking list.
Yeah, without them, I mean, you know, we're not having these conversations right now and talking like this without them.
Exactly. So, I get incensed when I see a homeless veteran, like I do. You know what I mean? I get incensed, man. You know,
no, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And I mean, a lot more needs to be done, and especially here, though, in America, it seems like we help out though more other countries though than the people ourselves, you know, that are from there.
Like, you know what else incensed me? This happened recently. They had that Taylor Swift come into town, and they locked down downtown with full security and all their security entourage. Nobody can go anywhere until she got to her destination. And we, the taxpayer, paid for that. You know what I mean? Know how much money the bill was, but you know what I mean? Millions. Well, that's what I'm saying. It cost millions of security for Taylor Swift. She did 6 shows here. You know, what a waste of money. You know what I mean? Here's money that could have went to just like, there's so many causes it could go to, but like, you know, they just don't care.
No.
They're not sitting up there in the White House or
their ivory tower.
And they're thinking, how can we make life good for our citizens? They're not doing that, man. They're filling their own goddamn pockets, man.
Man, it's sad. It's a sad commentary, and it's just, you know, and it just doesn't look like that's going to change, and it's sad. You know,
exactly. Taylor Swift, give me a break. She's a pop star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't even let my teenage daughter, if I had, wouldn't even watch her. You see her early stuff, you know what I mean? Her and that Miley Cyrus, Madonna. You know, come on, really?
Yeah. No, I hear you there, Bobby. I hear you there.
Yeah, man, it's just wow, man. But
Dude,
that's
this was Bobby. This was awesome, man. I cannot thank you enough.
Well,
Condolences to your buddy Dean. He sounded
yeah.
like a fantastic man, smart man. Loved his family, loved his kids.
Oh yeah, man.
My
Yeah.
condolences as well to that, my friend.
Right on.
And
Thank you for saying.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the time, and the folks.
Thank you also, man.
Yeah, no, anytime, man. Thank you for the time, and the people will absolutely see you back on though again. And just thank you so much though for your time, and everyone else watching out there. Give this a like, share it, subscribe. Thanks again though for watching.
Hey, you're welcome, bud. My pleasure, man. You're an excellent guy. I love you, man.